What's up, you guys? Jason here, Students of Life, where I distill down life lessons and learnings to help you improve your life. Today, we have a book breakdown of The 4-Hour Workweek by Tim Ferriss. I can't stress enough how much this book has affected me and helped me change the way I go about my life and put me down a number of different paths. He talks about a number of awesome concepts in the book. I'm going to pull out today the top 3 or 4 that had a tremendous impact on me. So without further ado, let's get into it. All right, so he talks about a number of concepts, as I said, in the book. Broadly, the book is structured into 4 sections. So he introduces this concept of deal. The first section I want to talk about is in the definition section, and the key thing that really impacted me out of this was fear setting. We all know about goal setting. I think we all have kind of the same reaction. Your eyes roll back in your head. Fear setting. I have never heard in my life someone talk about fear setting, and this concept alone has been probably one of the most useful tools that I've been able to apply in my life. So it's basically 3 things, right? Anytime we all set out for a goal in life, a lot of the times the thing that we don't talk about that's stopping us is those fears. And this tool that he kind of talks through in the book is a way to break that down and actually apply it in a material way. The first thing and the most important thing is, what is the worst case scenario? Articulating exactly what you think would be happening if you were to go down this path. And the important aspect of this is getting it all down on paper, right? So for me, a good example of this, when I was probably 23 or 24, I knew I was unhappy with my job. I didn't like where things were going. I just graduated from college and I was like, this is what it means to be in the real world. This sucks. And when I came across this book, I was in this moment of trying to figure out, okay, what kind of career do I want to be on? I know I want to be traveling. I'm not traveling. Like, what is it that I do? And so this process in and of itself helped me get past the fears of what it was that I wanted to do. So for me, at the time I was working for this company. I was unhappy with the company, but it was a good paying job. It was the heart of 2009, 2010, after the market had crashed. I was scared to leave my job. I was scared to take vacation because, what if I got fired? All of these things were kind of bearing down on me. Now, I was fortunate with my job at the time. I was given roughly 20 or 25 days off. And what I was wanting to do was, what if I took a month off of work and just traveled the world? I was like, that would be awesome. But my fear was to actually leave my company and go on this vacation to do something I wanted selfishly, to go travel. I just didn't feel good about it. And it was stopping me from actually going after that. And so by the end of this book, this is one of the things that he inspired me to look further into. And what I did was actually articulate, okay, what are my fears that are bothering me? What is it that would prevent me from going? Okay, I could lose my job. While I'm gone, someone could steal my car. While I'm, at wherever I'm traveling to, I could get held at gunpoint and robbed. I could get taken for ransom. While I'm gone, my roommates could move out and I'd be stuck with the rent and mortgage payments or whatever I had to do. All of these things, whether irrational or not, valid or invalid, they tend to mount up. And without going through the process of articulating these and getting them down on paper, they just kind of sit there and linger, and it just prevents you from doing what it is that you want. So you might as well figure it out. What is it that you're so afraid of? And so sitting down with yourself and going until you literally can't think through anything else, getting every last detail on paper. Worst case scenario. That's the first step of fear setting. Super, super powerful. And that step is probably the most important. The second most important part of this is, okay, if the worst case happened, how would I recover from worst case scenario? What would I have to do to get back to where I was, to fix whatever it is that I'm so afraid of, right? One of my fears was, okay, what if my job was like, no, you can't do that. Either you can't go or you're getting fired. What would I do? Well, I could get another job. I could have my resume updated and ready to go. In the event that were to happen, I could go apply for other jobs. I could list out all the companies I might want to go apply for if I got fired. I could think through backup plans. Could I bartend for a period of time? Could I find temp work for a period of time? What are all the options I could look at to solve that one fear? Okay, if I went down to wherever I was traveling to, I got robbed, what would I do? Well, I could make sure I don't carry a lot of cash on me at all times and I'm prepared. I can make sure I only go to places either with people or I know that are in safe neighborhoods. What if I got held at ransom? Well, you keep a limited amount of money in your checking or savings account and put the rest kind of tucked away in a different account where someone can, make you go to the ATM and have to withdraw all this money. What if my car got broken into or stolen while I was gone? Well, do I have insurance on the car? Yes, my insurance would probably pay it back. I would have to file an insurance claim and maybe I'd be out of a car for a month or two. Wouldn't be the worst case at all. Point being here is you're trying to articulate all of these things that were your so quote unquote worst case scenarios. How would you get back to them? Okay. That is the second step. Third step, what would happen and what would your life look like if you actually got what it was that you're after? Presumably you're after some sort of goal, some sort of end game. You have all these fears. You've now articulated them. You've now articulated how you would get back to square one if all these worst case happened. Well, what if you actually got what it was that you were after? For me, it was traveling to a new place, having these life experiences earlier in life, not deferring it to retirement. And it was having good food, being exposed to new ways of thinking or seeing the world, learning a language in a new culture, meeting new people, seeing new things. And once you list all that down and you have these three kind of like columns on a sheet, you realize worst case, not so bad. Ways to get over the worst case, manageable. The impacts this would have on my life if I actually got it, life-changing. And that alone allowed me to articulate everything that I was worried about, what I was after, and then gave me the momentum to go after it. So again, goal setting is equally as important. It's important to get very crystal clear about that, but I think before that is fear setting. And I think that's what a lot of books don't talk about, a lot of people don't talk about, is how do you articulate that piece of it? Because a lot of times, the obstacle and the fear that you have is the thing that is preventing you from getting it what you want. And so articulating it, realizing it's not that bad, is critical into getting what it is that you want. All right, so the next topic I wanted to talk about was the section that Tim calls elimination. It talks about a number of different things in this, but I think the primary thing that I took away from it was most important things. So this whole section is really about getting rid of the distractions of your life and then focusing on the things that matter, right? So in the first section, we talk about goals and then how to remove obstacles to get towards those goals. This section is how do I get rid of all the distraction? And then how do I focus on the things that are going to get me closer to that goal? And I think most important to this is, it's one thing to have a goal, whether it's I want $1 million, I want a private jet, I want to, have more time to spend time with my kids, whatever that might be. It's sometimes hard to actually get to the goal and like figuring out what the path is to get there. And most important things, how to get there. So the idea here is that, every day, every week, you identify the top 3, maybe 5 things that you need to do in order to work towards your goal. I'll give you a good example of this for me in real estate. So when I was going after one of my first true investment properties, I knew that I wanted the investment property and I knew I wanted to have other sources of income, but I didn't really know how to get there. And then so what defining the most important things helps you do is figure out what are the things I need to do to start and then sequentially get to the goal. And so for me, that was, okay, well, I know I want to make money in real estate. Well, where do I start? Well, okay, I probably need to figure out what it is that I want, getting very specific about what could I afford and what do I want that to look like. And for me, it was okay, I could maybe do $150,000 investment property. I want, $100 a door and I want 10% return as a very easy example. Next question would be, okay, once I'm clear on what it is that I want, it's okay, well, where do I want this? What market do I want? What market would be good for this? All right. So then that would be the next thing I do. I go figure out where's that market that I want. Okay, I want to be in this market because of X, Y, and Z, and I want to focus on that. Then the third piece is, okay, how am I going to get there and who's going to help me? Well, I need an agent. So I need to go find an agent that knows that market really well, knows how to find investment properties, and then I'll have my starting point. That would be one example. You could probably knock that out in a day. And then you go on to the next thing. Okay, what are the next three things I need the next day or the next week or whatever it is? And the reason I thought this topic was so powerful because it helps you break down tactically what you need to do on like a routine basis and gain that momentum to get from the first step to the second step to the third step and so on and so forth. All right, so the next thing I want to talk about in the section that Tim refers to is automation. Again, talks about a number of different cool concepts in here, like outsourcing, like location arbitrage, a bunch of different things. The thing that I want to draw out is really two things. It's testing and thinking about MVPs, minimal viable product, as you might hear in like startup speak. The other piece is thinking in systems. So the first piece, and taking a step back, what Tim introduces in the book is this notion of a muse, right? A muse is really just a source of income. In a bigger scale, you might think of this as like an actual startup, launching a business, launching a product. But he tries to minimize that down. Okay, you don't have to think about this big business, this big empire, that type of thing. You need a muse. It's like a side hustle. It's like a side project. It's whatever you want to call it, but it's more about developing a small like source of income and then maybe trying to grow that over some time. And so the whole idea here is it's possible to create a small source of income, start there, and then potentially scale it, or create several different muses that are all kinds of sources of income, with the end goal being to generate enough income to offset maybe your day job income or whatever that might be. And so specifically it talks about generating ideas and doing MVPs, testing them out, seeing what works, what sticks, what doesn't, what's a good idea, what's a bad idea, do people like it, do people hate it, whatever it is. The important thing is start small, fail fast, and then move on to the next one. Or once you get some success, optimize around what works and continue to that process over and over again. And then the other piece is around the automation piece, which is around thinking in systems. So once you get something working, early on it's going to be a heavy lift. You're going to have to do a lot of things manually. It's going to take a lot of time. I can attribute the same process to real estate. The time it took me to figure out how to find a market, figure out what a good deal looks like, actually analyze a property. The initial starting of that required a lot of cognitive energy from me. But eventually you're able to create systems and processes and templates that help you to accelerate. So now that I'm 10 units or four buildings later, I now have templates for everything, right? So if you're just starting out, you might think, okay, I want to buy a piece of real estate. That seems exhausting. I got to deal with tenants. If I get a call, what do I do? If something breaks, what do I do? I got to worry about leases. I got to worry about maintenance. It's overwhelming. But for me, what I've been able to do is you eventually start creating templates, right? So for example, I have a lease template. Every time I have a new lease come up, I use that same template, replace a couple of fields, send it off to them, sign it, you're good and you're done. Things that I need to remember to do, whether it's lease renewals, whether it's security deposits, whether it's replacing the filter on the furnace. Automated emails, automated reminders, set it, forget it, come back to it when it pops up. You have a template email that you send off to the tenants. Those types of things are just examples of ways to automate whatever it is that you're doing. For me, real estate has become my muse, and every property that I've come to acquire has become its own kind of revenue stream that I then continue to optimize. And every property I add on becomes easier and easier. I get faster at understanding what a good deal is, and then I also have like repeatable processes that I can apply onto the next one. So that is the third piece that he talks about, is automation and thinking about systems and testing things out quickly to figure out what works and what doesn't. All right, so in the fourth section of the book that Tim calls Liberation, really this was one of the game changers for me in terms of just how I thought about life in general. Specifically, he introduces this notion of lifestyle design, right? Most of us, if you're like me, probably grew up understanding, you go to school, you get a good degree, you get a good job, you work 9 to 5 or longer for the next 30 or 40 years. And then if you're lucky, you retire with some good savings and then you can travel on vacation or whatever. That never made sense to me. I got into the working world and I just didn't really connect with that. I didn't like what I was doing. I didn't like where this was going. And I didn't look up to anybody that was more senior than me. I was like, there has to be a better way to do this. And that's when I happened to stumble across Tim Ferriss. And again, he introduces this idea of lifestyle design. And the way he sets it up is everything I talked about in the beginning of this book. It's how do you kill the day job? How do you develop sources of income from what he calls muses to offset the income that you would need to live your life? And then how do you integrate the things that you want in your life that are going to give you the most enjoyment, fun, happiness, love, joy, whatever it is for you, whatever that looks like? That's what it's about. It's about thinking about all of those components and figuring out how to get what it is that you want. One of the other things he talks about in the beginning of the book around goals, he talks about dreamlining. I feel like our society in general has this vague notion about, I want to be a millionaire. I want $1 million. I want this or that. But none of us have a very clear idea of why. Like, what is $1 million going to get you? You want the highest score in the bank account game, right? Like, it doesn't really connect. And so the whole exercise of dreamlining is taking a step back and figuring out, okay, well, what is it that you want? You want a nice car, you want a nice house, you want to have time to travel and money to travel, you want nice watches, you want time to spend with your kids, you want to do, X, Y, or Z 3 times a year. Whatever it is, list these things out. What do you want to do on a monthly, a quarterly, an annual basis that would give you your ideal life? And once you have that down, you then start to articulate, how much is this going to cost me? And I think once you start to really think through, okay, well, this would be about X amount of dollars, this would be about Y amount of dollars, and you get all that down on paper, a lot of people are going to realize they maybe need at most a couple tens of thousands of dollars a month, maybe less, to get what it is that they're really after. $1 million doesn't have to be the end goal. And so I think the point here is really about designing your lifestyle, figuring out ways to generate income that are going to help you get that lifestyle and enable you to divorce yourself from the day job, or as many people refer to, the rat race. And that was the first time I'd ever been presented with a pattern or a way to approach life different than what we all grew up with, which was get that job, work for the bulk of your best years, and then, maybe you get to travel and enjoy the weakest or the latest part of your life. That works for some people, but for me, that wasn't my game plan. And so I think that piece of it really wraps up the book well in terms of, the ideas and concepts and mindset that Tim kind of outlines in the book that changed the way I think about my life and how I go after the things that I want. So that's all I got from The 4-Hour Workweek by Tim Ferriss. I hope you enjoyed this book breakdown, and some of the concepts that I shared from the book have inspired you to learn a little bit more about Tim Ferriss. Read the book yourself. I would highly recommend either downloading the audiobook or picking up the book yourself. A ton of really interesting ideas that I think you can apply to your life. So if you got anything out of this video today, would really appreciate if you smash the like button. It'd mean a lot to me. If you want to see other videos like this in the future, be sure to get subscribed so that you can get notified of them in the future. Until next time.